Some ideas are so obviously good that once you have seen them, you cannot believe the whole world has not simply copied them already. Korea is full of exactly these everyday solutions, so smart they ought to be borrowed everywhere right now. Here are 10 Korean everyday genius ideas the world should steal. First, heating the floor instead of the air. Korea's ancient idea of warming a home from beneath the floor rather than blasting hot air around the room is quite simply one of the most comfortable heating methods ever devised. The warmth rises gently and evenly from the ground, so your feet are cozy. The heat does not all pool uselessly at the ceiling, and there are no noisy vents or dry, dusty drafts. Why the world should steal? It is obvious the first time you step onto a warm floor on a freezing morning. It is more comfortable, often more efficient, and far more pleasant than the rattling radiators and roaring furnaces most of the world still puts up with every winter. And because the heat lives in the floor itself, the whole room stays usable and clutter-free, with no bulky radiators eating the walls or vents blasting from the ceiling. Second, paying for exactly the trash you throw away. Korea charges households for waste by the official bag and requires food scraps to be separated out. So the more you throw away, the more you pay, and the more you sort and reduce, the less it costs. It quietly turns waste from something invisible into something you can actually see and control. Why the world should steal? It is simple. It works, dramatically cutting how much rubbish people generate and pushing recycling and composting way up, all through one fair, transparent incentive. Instead of vague pleas to waste less, Korea built the encouragement straight into the system. And people respond because for once, doing the right thing visibly saves them money. It also makes the true cost of throwing things away impossible to ignore, which quietly changes how people shop and consume in the first place, long before the bag ever fills up. Third, one card and one app for absolutely everything. In Korea, a single transit card carries you across subways, buses, and taxis, and then buys your snack at the corner store, while a single super app handles your messaging, payments, maps, and more, all woven together. Why the world should steal? It is the sheer, blissful simplicity. Instead of juggling a thick stack of separate cards, tickets, and apps that stubbornly refuse to work with one another, your whole day runs on one smooth, connected tap. It quietly erases 100 tiny moments of friction, the fumbling, the topping up, the logging in. Once you have lived with everything talking to everything else, the disconnected mess everywhere else feels needlessly, almost insultingly complicated. The genius is not any single feature, but the seamlessness, the way the pieces simply assume you want them to cooperate, so you stop even thinking about the machinery and just get on with your day. Fourth, the call button on every restaurant table. In Korean restaurants, a small button on the table summons your server exactly when you want them, and not a second before, while free side dishes arrive and refill without anyone having to ask. Why the world should steal? It is that it fixes both halves of a universal dining annoyance at once. You never have to sit waving your arm trying to flag down a passing waiter, and you're never interrupted by one hovering when you simply want to be left alone to eat. You call them only when you actually need them. It hands quiet control of the meal back to the diner. It makes the entire experience calmer, smoother, and far less frustrating for everyone. The staff are not run ragged crossing the floor to check on tables, and the diners are not stuck in that familiar limbo of trying to catch an eye, so the whole room simply runs more peacefully. Fifth, delivery that lands on your doorstep overnight. In Korea, ordering something at night and finding it waiting outside your door by morning is not a luxury. It is the everyday norm, fast enough that people simply stop stockpiling things at all. Why the world should steal? It is how completely it changes your relationship with stuff. You no longer hoard, panic buy, or make endless special trips, because whatever you need is only hours away at any moment. It quietly frees up cupboards, time, and mental energy. Once you trust that almost anything can appear by tomorrow morning, a whole layer of low-level logistical worry that most people carry without noticing simply lifts off your shoulders for good. You stop treating shopping as a chore to batch and plan, and start treating it as something that quietly resolves itself overnight, which give you back both space at home and time you never realized you were spending. Sixth, the keypad lock that ends the era of keys. Korean homes overwhelmingly use keypad and smart door locks, so you get in with a code, a fingerprint, or a tap of your phone and never again carry, lose, or get locked out by a physical key. Why the world should steal, it is the sheer everyday relief of it. No more frantic pocket padding on the doorstep. No more hiding spare keys under the mat. No more expensive locksmith calls or copied keys floating around. You can grant a guest a temporary code and change it later in seconds. It is one of those upgrades that sounds minor until you live with it, and then going back to a metal key feels genuinely primitive. Coming home with your arms full and simply tapping a code, rather than digging for keys in a bag, is the kind of small daily relief you feel every single time you reach your door. Seventh, the glass walls that make subway platforms safe. Korean subway stations are lined with platform screen doors, full barriers along the platform edge that open only in sync with the train doors, sealing people off from the tracks until it is safe. Why the world should steal, it is that it saves lives while making everything better in the bargain. Falls and accidents onto the tracks are largely designed out of existence. The platform is quieter and far less windy, and the whole station feels calmer and more controlled. It quietly solves a serious safety problem that older systems just live with and warn about. It is the kind of fix that, once seen, makes an open platform edge look alarmingly reckless. They also keep litter and the rush of warm tunnel air off the platform, so the wait is cleaner and more pleasant, and the whole station hums along with a calm sense of order that an exposed edge never quite manages. Eighth, the heated, washing toilet seat as standard. In Korea, the warm bidet seat with gentle water and drying is not a rare hotel indulgence. It is simply what an ordinary bathroom has. Why the world should steal, it is that it is cleaner, more comfortable, and frankly more civilized than the cold, basic alternative most of the world still settles for. The warmth on a winter morning alone is worth it, and the rest quickly becomes something you cannot imagine doing without. It is a small, daily, repeated comfort that costs little to install and quietly improves one of the most universal human routines there is. Treating it as ordinary rather than fancy is precisely the leap the rest of the world should make. It costs a fraction of what people imagine, fits onto an existing toilet, and pays you back twice a day, every day for years, which is a remarkable return for so small and quiet an upgrade. Ninth, healthcare that is quick, close, and affordable. In Korea, seeing a doctor is a fast, low-cost, everyday affair, with clinics on nearly every block, short waits, same-day appointments, and a national insurance system that keeps the bill modest and predictable. Why the world should steal, it is that it removes both the fear and the friction from getting well. You are not gambling your savings or waiting months in pain over something simple. You just go, get seen, and get treated. It quietly takes one of life's deepest anxieties, what happens to me if I get sick, and largely defuses it. A society where ordinary medical care is simply quick, near, and affordable is one where everyone breathes a little easier. People catch problems early instead of dreading the cost and waiting until things get serious, which quietly makes the whole population healthier and the whole system cheaper to run in the long run. 10th, a country that genuinely never closes. In Korea, life carries on around the clock. Convenience stores, restaurants, cafes, saunas, and services humming through the night. So whatever you need at any hour, somewhere nearby, is open and ready. Why the world should steal, it is the profound freedom it gives you over your own time. You're not boxed in by everything shutting at 6, not forced to cram every errand into the same narrow window as everyone else. Hungry at 3 in the morning, out of something at midnight, working an odd shift, it simply does not matter. A city that stays awake quietly tells its people that their lives, whatever shape they take, are welcome at any hour. It also makes the city feel alive and safe deep into the night, because lit, busy streets with somewhere open are far less lonely and far less menacing than a town that goes completely dark the moment the shops pull their shutters down. Look at all 10 of these together and notice what they have in common. Not one of them is a far-off technological marvel or was something only a wealthy few could ever enjoy. They are practical, affordable, and ready to be copied tomorrow. A warm floor, a fair trash bag, a single tap, a button on the table, a code on the door. Each one quietly proves that ordinary daily life can simply be made better when someone decides it is worth the effort. That is the real reason the world should steal these ideas. They are not Korean secrets. They're just good ideas sitting in plain sight, waiting for everyone else to finally notice and follow.